All right, so welcome back here. So today we're talking about unit rates. And a unit rate is just a special kind of a rate. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, a rate, as is given in your description here, a rate is a special kind of ratio where the two amounts being compared have different units. For example, you might use a rate to compare 3 cups of water to 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. If you're making a recipe, right? We have cups of water, tablespoons of cornstarch. The units that we're comparing are different, cups and tablespoons. Now, a unit rate is a special kind of rate where it has a 1 as its denominator. So to find a unit rate, we just set up a ratio as a fraction and then divide the numerator by the denominator. What does that mean? Well, if we use this example up top here, let's say we have 5 tablespoons of cornstarch to 3 cups of water. Okay, well, that is a rate, 5 tablespoons of cornstarch to 3 cups of water. But to make it a little bit more useful, okay, we might want to have a unit rate, which means we take 5 divided by 3, or 5 divided by 3, right? If we look back at our original ratio there, and we do that division. So 5 divided by 3 is going to give us 1.66666. And that's just a repeating decimal. We could just say that that's 1.6 tablespoons per cup, per single cup. Right? Now, that's not necessarily the nice, neat, clean fraction that we might want. Most of the problems that we're going to work with here are going to not give us nice, clean answers. But that's just kind of giving a representation here. Because we look at this example that they give us. Jackson swims a half a mile every 1/3 of an hour. What is the unit rate of Jackson's swim? And here we're going to see where we would see a unit rate in real life. So they give us 1/2 of a mile to 1/3 of an hour. That is a ratio, right? We can write a ratio like they have it here, and we'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, where it's the fraction, a colon, the other fraction. It's a 1/2 of a mile to 1/3 of an hour. We can also write it as a ratio, like a fraction, 1/2 of a mile to 1/3 of an hour. And notice the one we mentioned first is always the one that's in the numerator on top. So this is 1/2 divided by 1/3, which is 1/2 times 3/1. If we're dividing fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we get 1/2 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. And we get 1.5 over 1. Or 1.5 miles per hour. So this is 1.5 miles per hour. And that is a very common unit rate that we'll see just in real life, miles per hour. All right, so let's zoom back out a little bit. Another example, a car can travel 300 miles on 15 gallons of gas. What is the unit rate per gallon of gasoline? So we have this ratio, 300 miles to 15 gallons. And I'm kind of running out of space there, but okay, so 300 miles to 15 gallons. We can also write that ratio as a fraction, 300 miles to 15 gallons. And they are doing this here for us as well, right? So we can reduce this fraction. Let's say I recognize that these are all divisible by 5, so this would be 60 over 3. Well, 60 is divisible by 2, so that's 20, or 1. We can just do this by reducing the fraction. Or we can go back to the original ratio and just plug this into the calculator and say 300 divided by 15 is equal to 20. And it's 20 miles per gallon. Right? And you can spell that out as miles per gallon, or you could do the old 20 mpg if you want. As long as we recognize that this is a ratio, but it's a special kind of a ratio. It's a unit rate where whatever it's miles to gallons or gallons per flush, right? Whatever that bottom unit is in our ratio is a 1. It's a single unit. Okay? So here we have another example here. Anna pays $2.70 for 3 bottles of apple juice. What is the unit price of each bottle? Okay, well, $2.70 to 3 bottles of apple juice, or $2.70 by 3, we simply do the division. You can plug that right into the calculator. I wouldn't expect you to do this old-fashioned long division. But we get 0.9. 2.70 divided by 3 gives us 0.9. Well, 0.9, if we're talking about a unit price, we know that that's 90 cents, or $0.9, and that's dollars per bottle. Once we get used to the idea of what it's asking us to do, the examples and the practice problems get really pretty simple. Example here, a school supplier sells packages of 8 notebooks for $40 and 5 notebooks for $30. Alexa says that the package of 5 notebooks is the better deal. Is she correct? I'm going to zoom out a little bit just to give myself a little more space to do the work here. Now obviously they've done the work here on the side or underneath the problem here, but I like kind of showing this step by step. So we just need to, in order to see which one's a better deal, what is our unit rate? Which one of these has the lower price per notebook? Right, well, $40 for 8 notebooks, or $30 for 5 notebooks. Okay, well, 40 divided by 8. Literally just plug it into the calculator, because fractions are just another way of writing division problems. 40 divided by 8 is 5, so that would be $5 per notebook. 30 divided by 5 is 6. And I should have put the dollar sign out front, but $6 per notebook. Which one's the better deal? Buying all 8 notebooks, because this is $5 each, this is $6 each. I would rather pay $6 each. Okay. So from here on in, it's literally just apply this process, use the calculator, right? Use the graphing calculator, use the calculator in your phone. For this kind of straightforward operation, it doesn't really matter which one. I would prefer you use the graphing calculator because I would prefer you to get accustomed to that particular tool. But, right, for number 1 here, Andrew pumped 66 gallons of gasoline in 11 minutes. 66 gallons in 11 minutes. To get my unit rate, I simply divide 66 by 11 and I get 6. But notice it's 6 gallons per 1 minute. Those units, they stay in that ratio, they stay in the same kind of general configuration, but we apply that ratio, gallons per minute, to that integer out front, or that we could have a fraction or a decimal out front. Same thing. Aaron swam 150 yards in 3 minutes. Well, 150 yards in 3 minutes. Do the division. Look at number 7. $44.40 for 12 gallons of gas. What is that unit rate? How much is her gas per gallon? Do the division. But just remember to write all of these as that unit rate. Don't just give me the number. I want to know it's, in this case, it would be dollars per gallon, right? I want to know that unit rate. Okay, so good luck. These should be fairly straightforward. Just make sure you're using your calculator. Make sure that you're giving me these answers as a unit rate. All right.